Hi, my name is Robert Chelle, and I'm an attorney with nearly, over 2 decades of experience assisting nurse practitioners with employment contract and independent contractor agreement issues. Today, I'm just going to kind of give a brief rundown of what a contract review looks like and kind of the main things that we discuss and are important to any kind of NP who's either new to practice or just switching jobs. So first, obviously compensation is important to everybody. I would say NPs, more than any other healthcare profession, generally have just straight base salaries. And so what makes it very simple, you go into work and see the patients that are there, and that's how much you get paid. Now, a smart practice will usually provide some kind of productivity incentive. If you work for a hospital or health network, it could be RVU based. If you work in like a private physician-owned office, or perhaps you're in a state where you can be autonomous and you work for another NP, it could be net collections based, meaning you'll get a percentage of whatever the practice brings in based upon your services. So that's the first thing we talk about. The timing of the payments. If you do have bonuses, how are they paid? Is there opportunity for growth as far as the salary goes? It's very rare that you will see, kind of a step up in compensation over time. For the most part, it's just kind of a straight amount. And then, whenever the contract ends or renews, that would be your time to kind of negotiate to try to get an increase in base. So that's the first thing that we generally talk about. Next, how to terminate the contract. You always want some kind of without cause termination, meaning, you give 60 to 90 days notice, and then you're free to move on to whatever new opportunity there is out there. You don't want to get stuck in a situation where you have no without cause termination for, let's say, the first initial term or the first year. You never want to get in a situation where you're stuck. Maybe you are unhappy, you think they're practicing unsafely, or their expectations are out of whack, or you think they're committing some kind of insurance fraud. I find a lot of times if you're like the first NP that a private practice has used, they don't really understand how to utilize the NP correctly, or what they're capable of doing. And that's sometimes a difficult situation. So if you're going into a practice, having a practice that has experience utilizing NPs and have used them before, I think will kind of make a smoother transition for any NP. Next would be non-competes, pretty important. If you grew up in a city, if you have family, kids go to school there, and you just cannot leave, having a reasonable non-compete is very important. I'd say especially for nurse practitioners, because you still can do other specialties. Getting the scope of the non-compete narrowed down is very important. So let me give an example. What you don't want it to say is, and I just reviewed a contract today that was like, you can't practice nursing within X. It was not specific to nurse practitioner services nursing. So even if you wanted to do RN work for a year while the non-compete is going on, that wouldn't be allowed. And then it didn't even say the specialty. So let's say you're doing primary care for a physician office, and it says you can't work as a nurse or do any nursing within X. You always want it to be specific to what you're doing. So for instance, if you're doing primary care, it needs to say you can't practice in primary care for 1 year and 10 miles. This would allow you to do urgent care or be a hospitalist or maybe do ED or even do some of the internal medicine subspecialties. That's very important for an NP. And so you want to make certain you're not just getting stuck, unable to practice at all as an NP, under your non-compete. Next, malpractice insurance. Obviously, either if it's an occurrence policy, you don't need tail insurance. If it's a claims-made policy, many times they'll make the nurse practitioner be responsible for purchasing their own tail. For most NPs, it's not exorbitant, like if you're an OBGYN or something like that, but it still is an amount that you would prefer not to pay. So negotiating who pays tail is certainly important. And then benefits, are they going to pay for your CE, your nursing board, AAMP, all those things, DEA registration. These are things that a practice should contribute towards or pay completely. So that's just like a very brief rundown of what a contract review, kind of the key components of what we'd go over together. Obviously, every nurse practitioner has, things that are more important to them than others. And so it's just a matter of figuring out what those are and finding a solution for that. If you have any questions about an employment agreement or independent contractor agreement, feel free to contact my law firm. At the description, we'll list all the contact information of the video. And I appreciate you watching the video. Once again, my name is Rob Chelle. All right, thank you. Take care.